Warrant Officer Clitheroe asked me to contribute to the video that she's doing for Remembrance Day, and so I've been thinking about it. And Remembrance Day, to me, I don't know if sacred is the right word, but it certainly carries a great weight and significance. There's a very, very long line of military service in my family, dating as far back to the 1745 Scottish Rebellion, for any of you that know your history. Particularly, though, in Remembrance Day, the two people that I think of the most, my two grandfathers. Both my maternal and paternal grandfather were in the British Army during the war. My maternal grandfather was in the Royal Army Ordnance Corps from 1939 through till 1946, and I still have the telegram that he sent to my grandmother in 1946 to say that he was coming home, and asked if she still loved him. And my paternal grandfather started in the Royal Artillery and went overseas into France in the early days of the war with the British Army, and then during the evacuation of Dunkirk, as part of the artillery, they were firing so often and so much to try to slow the German advance to allow more of the evacuation to proceed. It permanently damaged his hearing. So when he did make it back to England, he was transferred from the Royal Artillery into the military police, where he then basically followed Montgomery's armored division and through North Africa, up through the Italian peninsula and into Germany. And then he was demobbed in 1945. So while both of my grandfathers came through that war intact, it's the sacrifice that they made and were willing to make for their country, for their king, for their families, is something that always weighs on me. Every time I march in that parade, particularly in that 2 minutes of silence, it's very heavy on my heart. And because I lost my grandfathers when I was very young, one when I was 1 year old and the other when I was only 8, I didn't really get to know them in that way, but I still try to keep that memory alive. And if you're ever upstairs at the MRCC on my desk, I still have the photographs of both sets of grandparents with my grandfathers in their army uniforms, as another way for me to keep their memory going and the memory of their service going. So Remembrance Day for me is something that I take very seriously. It's something that I hold very dear to my heart, and I hope you do too. And that's my recollection. That's what Remembrance Day is for me, and why it is as important to me as it is.
I remember from my grandfather, who was a UN peacekeeper in Cyprus, and my great grandfather, who was a Canadian soldier in World War II, who was injured in combat.
On Remembrance Day, we acknowledge the courage and the sacrifice of the soldiers and people who serve their country and acknowledge your responsibility to work for the peace that the brave men and women fought so hard to achieve. There are many ways to show our appreciation. So today, say thank you to a veteran, wear a poppy, or visit a cenotaph to pay your respects. You can also make a donation to the Legion Poppy Trust Fund. But most importantly, take a moment and reflect on the freedom and peace that you enjoy in your life today. And remember the men and women who served and sacrificed for all that we have today.
I remember because it is as a result of the hard work and determination of Canadian veterans that my family and I get to call this beautiful country home. If you are a veteran of Canada's Armed Forces, I wish you a happy Remembrance Day.
On Remembrance Day, we remember those who have fought for our country. The sacrifices they have made are incomparable. Not only did some of them sacrifice their lives, but also their jobs, friends and family, and future. They gave it all up for us. I am proud to say that my very close friend is training for the military. Him being away for 3 months is hard to bear, but what I am feeling is only a fraction of what they did. I can only assume that the soldiers were scared, worried, and lonely, but they still did it. They did it for us, for Canada. November 11th is the day when we honor their bravery and generosity. They give up so much for us. The very least we can do is remember them, lest we forget.
Hi, I'm Flight Sergeant Shorley. I believe it is important to remember on Remembrance Day, to honor those who came before us and who fought for our freedoms.
When I think of Remembrance Day, I think of a memory of when I was in grade 10 and I was at a Remembrance Day assembly for our school. I was in the school's choir and we had just gotten finished singing in a choral arrangement of In Flanders Fields. And I remember sitting on the sidelines and then a song came on, and I believe it was A Pittance of Time, and I started imagining myself as a soldier who who fought in war, and who was fighting for our freedom. I imagined the hardships they went through, and then I started imagining the families who'd heard the news that they'd just lost a loved one. Then I thought of the friends who had just lost one of their comrades on the battlefield. And in that moment, my perspective on Remembrance Day really changed. And I started understanding why we celebrate today. And then I started crying because I couldn't imagine what it must have been like to be in the positions of any of those people. And the bravery that those soldiers went through to fight for our country, to fight through our freedom, that really inspires me and makes me really think about Remembrance Day and why we celebrate it. So, to the veterans who fought, I want to say thank you. To the soldiers who died for our freedom and for the freedom of others, I want to say thank you. And to everyone who's lost someone because of war and such, I want to say your family, whoever you lost, they will not be forgotten. Today, Remembrance Day is a day of remembrance, and I will not forget those who died for us.
Ever since the end of the First World War, Canadians have been commemorating Remembrance Day each year on November 11th. Everybody has different reasons for why they remember them. I remember them because they have fought, served, and sacrificed for the future generations to enjoy freedom, opportunity, and comfort. This year is a lot different because many Remembrance Day ceremonies and activities were cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This really opened up a lot of thought in my mind about how lucky we actually are to be living today. Because although 2020 has taken a toll on our lives and the pandemic has been a struggle this year, we are actually extremely lucky. Because in the years of the world wars, people not much older than my age have been sent out to live in very harsh, uncertain conditions, to fight and potentially die for the freedoms that we have today in future generations. And we are getting told to help Canadians by staying in the comforts of our home. This is mind-blowing because there have been so much negativity and complaining about being told to stay home to protect others. But I really realized that things in previous years have been a lot worse. And this is why we should be thankful rather than angry that we are living in 2020. This is what Remembrance Day 2020 has made me realize, and this is what Remembrance Day really means for me. I think everybody should be extremely grateful and try to complain less, because those in the years of the world wars and many more conflicts and wars that have happened have sacrificed their lives for us. And we shouldn't be complaining because our lives are good, thanks to them. So lest we forget.
In Flanders Fields, the purple's blood between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, Short days ago we lived, felt,
and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you with failing hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high, if ye breaks faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.